For 20 seconds, picture this with me. I stood at the edge of a dead creek and the earth breathed. The mud rose and fell like a sleeping animal. Then I heard it, a low, broken sound, not a moo, not a cry, something in between. The storm had passed 3 days earlier, but its weight still sat on the land. My boots sank an inch, then two. I called out, "Easy there? I'm here." Something answered. Not words. A will that had not quit yet. The air still smelled like wet cedar and diesel. I had been on patrol when the call came in, rumors of a missing bull from the ranch across the fence line. Folks had searched everywhere. Gates, ponds, the oak thickets. Nothing. I cut the siren, stepped out, and followed the sound. It led me through cattails glazed with clay, past a fence post with a faded brand, to a brown pit that looked harmless from a distance and deadly up close. Then I saw him. A big Brahmin, chest deep in mud, head tipped sideways like the earth had pinned him there on purpose. His hide was a map of dried streaks and fresh sludge. His eyes were dull the way a fire gets when it runs out of air. He lifted his head a little when he heard me and let it drop again. I said, "Don't do that, big fella. Keep that head up." He blinked, slow. It felt like he understood. I radioed, voice steady for the record. "Large animal in distress. Mud entrapment. Need fire crew, vet, anyone with ranch sense." The dispatcher asked for the nearest road marker. I gave it and added, "He's been here a while." My phone buzzed. Unknown number. I answered, "Reeves?" A quiet voice said, "Is it him?" I asked, "Who's this?" "Hector from the east pasture. My bull, Johnny." I looked at the tag, half hidden by clay. "Hector, he's alive." Silence and then a breath that sounded like prayer. "Please don't move him wrong," he said. "We already tried ropes." He sank deeper. I studied the mud. It was not just thick, it held him like a closed fist. If we pulled hard, we could break what we were trying to save. Behind me, the wind pushed a tired cloud across the sun and the world went dim for a second. I talked to the bull as if he were a man who had fallen in a ditch. "Listen, Johnny. You kept breathing for 3 days. That's enough fight for me to meet you halfway." He made that low sound again like he was answering. And then something strange happened. The ground gave a little under my heel like it wanted to tell me a secret. For 20 seconds, picture this with me. I stood at the edge of a dead creek and the earth breathed. The mud rose and fell like a sleeping animal. Then I heard it, a low, broken sound, not a moo, not a cry, something in between. The storm had passed 3 days earlier, but its weight still sat on the land. My boots sank an inch, then two. I called out, "Easy there? I'm here." Something answered. Not words. A will that had not quit yet. The air still smelled like wet cedar and diesel. I had been on patrol when the call came in, rumors of a missing bull from the ranch across the fence line. Folks had searched everywhere. Gates, ponds, the oak thickets. Nothing. I cut the siren, stepped out, and followed the sound. It led me through cattails glazed with clay, past a fence post with a faded brand, to a brown pit that looked harmless from a distance and deadly up close. Then I saw him. A big Brahmin, chest deep in mud, head tipped sideways like the earth had pinned him there on purpose. His hide was a map of dried streaks and fresh sludge. His eyes were dull the way a fire gets when it runs out of air. He lifted his head a little when he heard me and let it drop again. I said, "Don't do that, big fella. Keep that head up." He blinked, slow. It felt like he understood. I radioed, voice steady for the record. "Large animal in distress. Mud entrapment. Need fire crew, vet, anyone with ranch sense." The dispatcher asked for the nearest road marker. I gave it and added, "He's been here a while." My phone buzzed. Unknown number. I answered, "Reeves?" A quiet voice said, "Is it him?" I asked, "Who's this?" "Hector from the east pasture. My bull, Johnny." I looked at the tag, half hidden by clay. "Hector, he's alive." Silence and then a breath that sounded like prayer. "Please don't move him wrong," he said. "We already tried ropes." He sank deeper. I studied the mud. It was not just thick, it held him like a closed fist. If we pulled hard, we could break what we were trying to save. Behind me, the wind pushed a tired cloud across the sun and the world went dim for a second. I talked to the bull as if he were a man who had fallen in a ditch. "Listen, Johnny. You kept breathing for 3 days. That's enough fight for me to meet you halfway." He made that low sound again like he was answering. And then something strange happened. The ground gave a little under my heel like it wanted to tell me a secret. The rescue crew reached me faster than I expected. I heard the rumble of the fire engine long before I saw it, then boots crunching gravel and voices cutting through the damp air. Captain Noah stepped beside me, wiping rain from his brow even though the sky had cleared. "Where is he?" I pointed. No dramatic hand wave, just a simple gesture toward the pit. His face changed the second he saw Johnny. Not shock, calculation. The look of someone who'd stood between life and death before. Behind him, Dr. Maya arrived with her vet kit, breathing more like she had run here than driven. She froze the moment her eyes landed on Johnny. "Oh no," she whispered. Not fear, not panic, heartache, like she knew exactly how long an animal could hold hope before it snapped. She crouched and spoke softly, "Hey sweetheart, stay with us, okay?" Johnny answered with that broken sound again, weaker this time. Maya's voice tightened. "He's shutting down." Hector came last, stumbling over cattails and slipping down the small bank, mud streaking his jeans like he didn't even feel it. He stopped beside me, chest heaving. "Johnny boy," his voice cracked in the middle. He knelt too fast and his knee sank, but he didn't care. He placed a trembling hand on the bull's neck. Johnny didn't move at first. Then, inch by inch, he lifted his head and looked at him. There are moments that cut the world clean in half. That was one. Hector wiped his face roughly, like tears were wasting time. "We tried ropes," he murmured. "He just sank more." I nodded. "If we pull hard, he might break." Noah crouched, testing the mud with a stick, watching how it sucked and swallowed. "This isn't mud," he said. "It's holding him like glue." One of his crew whispered, "If we haul him, we could kill him." No one wanted to say it loud. The air felt tight, like even the trees were holding their breath. Hector looked at me suddenly, desperate. "Do not let them put him down. Not unless he gives up first." He grabbed Johnny's ear gently. "You didn't quit, not after storms, coyotes, all those winters. Don't quit today." Johnny blinked slow again. Maya stood up. "We need to hydrate him before anything. If we move him like this, his heart won't handle it." She pulled out an 4-bag, hand steady even though her voice shook. I held the line as she placed the needle. "Stay with us," she whispered again. And then Johnny moved. Just a twitch in his shoulder, but enough to stop all of us cold. Enough to say, "I'm still here." The shift in the air was so small most people would have missed it. But after 3 days in that mud, any movement from Johnny meant something. Maya's eyes flicked to his pulse point, then to his face. "He still has fight," she murmured. The 4-drip tapped. Softly, drop by drop, like time itself was slowing down to give him one more chance. Noah cleared his throat and looked around the pit like it was a battlefield. "We can't pull him with machines. We'll break him. If we dig, the mud will swallow him," he said. One of his firefighters added quietly, "And we don't have much daylight left." His voice held the kind of tone you hear when someone knows a truth they don't want to say aloud. Hector turned sharply. "Don't talk about light. He's not dying today." His hand stayed on Johnny's neck, thumb rubbing gently like he was comforting a scared child. The mud around Johnny made a thick sound as bubbles rose and burst. He tried lifting a leg, barely, just enough to disturb the surface. "Easy boy, easy," I whispered. He wasn't fighting. He was reminding us he still remembered how. That mattered. Then an unexpected voice broke the silence. "What if we don't pull him? What if we float him?" We all looked over. Tessa had arrived without me noticing, hard hat clipped to her belt, mud already on her knees from assessing ground levels. She pointed to the fire hose like she had been building a plan in her head since she saw the bull. "Mud holds because it's dense. If we slowly push water under him, we break the suction. Not fast, not spraying him, but beneath him. Then slide panels under. Make a bed. Let him glide out instead of dragging him like dead weight." Maya frowned, thinking, then nodded slowly. "It could work. It won't shock his system like a pull." Noah hesitated. "This isn't in any manual." Hector didn't hesitate. "Manuals don't have my bull in them." The moment didn't feel brave or heroic. It felt quiet, like hope was creeping back in on tiptoe. Johnny lifted his head again, and for the first time I saw something in his eyes, an old stubbornness, a Texas kind of grit. The kind you don't teach, it lives in you. Noah clapped his hands once, firm. "Then we do it. Low water pressure first. Test it. No sudden moves. If he sinks, we stop." His crew nodded. Maya squeezed Johnny's ear gently. "You hold on a little longer. We got you." And just then, a gust of wind swept through the creek bed, rattling the grass, and for a moment I swear it felt like the whole land leaned forward to watch. The bull wasn't saved yet. But for the first time it didn't feel like he was dying either. They brought the hoses down slowly, like handling something sacred. No shouting, no rush. Everyone moved with a strange calm. The kind of quiet you only hear when people understand one wrong step could mean the end. Noah tested the ground first, pressing his boot forward inch by inch, laying small wooden planks to spread weight. Nobody steps into the pit unless we say so, he warned. We aren't saving him just to sink ourselves. Maya watched Johnny's breathing, counting under her breath. Hector kept talking softly to him, stories about the ranch, about the granddaughter who used to braid ribbons in his tail. She prayed for you last night, he whispered. Said God wouldn't take her riding partner away. Johnny's ear twitched slightly. Small thing but enough to steal a tear from Hector's eye. The first hose hissed to life. Not blasting, just a low steady push. The water slid under the mud like it was hunting for space. At first nothing changed. The mud looked the same, thick and unforgiving. The hose operator looked unsure. Captain, I don't think. Then the first bubble rose near Johnny's ribs and popped with a wet sigh. Again, Noah instructed. Slow pulses. The mud darkened, loosened. You could see it, not obvious like in movies but real. The way syrup thins when heat touches it. Johnny shifted again, this time more than before. His chest rose higher, his hooves moved maybe an inch. That inch felt like a miracle. Maya leaned closer, her hand on his jaw. Heart rate's up but not panic level. He's responding. Tessa nodded, scanning the slope. We need panels now. If he starts floating without support, he'll roll. Luis, the ranch hand who arrived with steel mesh panels, whispered, I never thought I'd use cattle ramps as a life raft. We slid the first sheet in. It disappeared under the mud so smoothly it almost looked like the earth swallowed it. Then another. Johnny grunted, not fear but effort. He felt it. He knew what we were trying to do. The hose kept feeding the mud and the second sheet slipped beneath him too. There was a soft shift, his weight settling, the mud losing its grip little by little. Easy boy, Hector murmured. Let it help you. The bull blinked slow and something passed in his eyes. Strain, yes, but also trust. He hadn't quit. He wouldn't quit. Not if he could help it. For a second, the hose pressure dipped. A pause in sound. Everyone stopped breathing. Then it steadied. We all exhaled like we had been holding the same breath for hours. All right, Noah said quietly, almost like a prayer. We keep going. 1 inch at a time. And right then, in that muddy pit under the faded Texas sun, it didn't feel like a rescue anymore. It felt like a promise. One none of us intended to break. The mesh beneath him shifted again, this time with a faint scraping sound, and Johnny's whole body lifted just slightly, barely the width of a finger, but we all saw it. Even the mud seemed confused, as if it couldn't decide whether to hold on or let go. His breathing hitched, not in fear but in effort. 3 days stuck, muscles frozen, lungs tired, yet he tried to move. Maya whispered, Good boy, don't fight the water. Let it carry you. She didn't touch him now. Sometimes help meant staying close without adding weight. Luis brought another mesh panel. His voice was low. We get these under his shoulders, he'll ride up like a raft. Noah nodded, eyes fixed on the mud. Slow. If he rolls, he won't get back up. There were no speeches, no cheering. Only a steady rhythm, water pushing, mud softening, hands guiding. Hector stood so still he looked carved from weathered oak. He wiped his cheeks again, more annoyed than embarrassed. He used to run through storms, he said quietly, not to anyone in particular. Never feared thunder. His voice cracked. But this time the storm didn't chase him. It caught him. Johnny's head moved, searching the voice. His eyes landed on Hector and stayed there. It was not confusion. It was recognition. I swear the air thickened with it. Animals don't speak, but sometimes they answer anyway. Another hose angle, more slurry forming, mud sliding off his belly. His flank lifted, just a breath but enough to show the plan was working. Tessa knelt beside the bank, measuring slope angles with her eyes alone. When he floats forward, guide his chest left. If he tilts right, he'll slide back into the deeper pocket. No sudden tugs? One firefighter asked. None, she replied. We let physics and patience do the work. Johnny groaned long and low. His front hooves paddled against nothing, instinct waking up after days of stillness. Maya leaned closer. He's trying to stand. He can't. Keep him down gently if he pushes. I moved nearer, boots sinking but steady. I rested my hand near Johnny's face, not touching, just close enough for him to feel presence. You're doing good, I murmured. Just breathe. We're right here. The mud loosened around his chest, slurping softly as the suction weakened. Water shimmered around him now, not drowning but freeing. The panels underneath shifted like a raft testing rivers for the first time. Hector exhaled shakily. Come home, boy. Just a little more. His voice trembled, but his hand stayed steady. Johnny blinked again. Then he did something none of us expected. He lifted his head higher than before, eyes brighter, nostrils flaring like hunger for air and land and life itself. He wasn't free. Not yet. But life had returned to him. And everyone there felt it, the moment where hope stopped whispering and started breathing again. Mud dripped off Johnny's shoulders like thick paint sliding off worn leather. He had lifted himself just enough that his whole frame seemed suspended between sinking and rising. Every second held weight. The firefighters didn't move fast or slow. They moved carefully, as if every motion had been rehearsed in a dream they never expected to see come true. Pressure steady, Noah called out quietly. The hose operator stayed focused, wrists stiff, eyes fixed. One wrong angle and the mud could rush back, trapping him deeper. Another mesh panel slid in, edges vibrating slightly as the muck shifted. Luis held his breath while guiding it. When it disappeared under Johnny's belly, he whispered, "It's holding." I stayed close to Johnny's head, one knee pressed into the damp soil. His eyes weren't dull anymore, they held something different now, a spark, faint but stubborn. "That's it," I told him. "You stayed alive this long, don't let go now." The bull blinked, muscles along his neck twitching like coiled rope, remembering strength. Maya checked the forebag, then his gums again. "Hydration's working." "His tongue's turning pink again," she murmured. Her voice was tired but hopeful. "He wants to live." Hector breathed like someone who hadn't taken a real breath in 3 days. He stepped back just a little, not leaving, just giving space. "He's always been a fighter," he whispered. "Not loud, not wild, but stubborn. Never quits." The water flooded deeper beneath the bull, and suddenly the mud beneath his hind legs shifted in a slow wave. The bull's weight rolled slightly and his back rose maybe 2 more inches. It was slow, so slow it felt unreal, like watching a mountain move under moonlight. Then a sharp crack sounded underfoot. All heads jerked up. One of the wooden planks beneath us had split from pressure. A firefighter froze mid-step, his foot halfway into soft mud. Noah grabbed his arm. "Don't move. Distribute your weight, slow." The man did as told, inching back, trembling but calm. Everyone went silent. Hector's voice broke that silence, soft but steady. "One life at a time," he said. "First him. Then us. No drama. Just truth." Once stable again, they resumed, slow flow, careful guidance. Johnny trembled. His legs shook under the mud like they were waking up after a long sleep. Maya steadied his head gently. "Easy. Don't try to stand yet. Let them help you." His breathing was heavy but deep now, not desperate. A low rumble escaped his chest. It wasn't pain, it sounded almost like determination, as if he was warning the earth itself not to take him again. The mesh lifted another fraction, mud peeling away from his body. He wasn't just being rescued anymore. He was rising. And every person there knew, once a creature decides to return to life, the world has to make room for it. But the hardest part wasn't done yet. Because surviving the mud was one thing. Standing again would be another battle entirely. Johnny's body floated just enough now that the mud could no longer fully claim him. The panels creaked beneath his weight, shifting like thin ice resisting spring thaw. A thin film of water glimmered around him. The dirt that once swallowed him now looked confused, less like a trap and more like tired earth letting go. But when something begins to rise, gravity always tests it first. He tried to stand. It happened suddenly, his front legs jerked, muscles firing with raw instinct. His chest lifted higher, hooves pressing into nothing but thick slurry. The mesh wobbled, the water rippled, and for one terrifying second, it seemed he would topple sideways. "Hold him." Maya shouted, not loud but sharp. No one rushed. That was the rule now. No panic, no sudden grabs. Luis and I moved just close enough to steady his angle. Not touching him hard, just guiding lightly with straps so he would not twist wrong and sink again. Hector's voice shook but stayed low, steady. "No boy, not yet. Don't waste strength. Let them help." Johnny's breath came out rough, warm against the cold mud. He wasn't thrashing, he was trying to remember how legs worked. After 3 days unable to move, his body had forgotten balance the way a storm forgets sunlight. "Easy," I murmured again. "You don't stand first. You float first." My hand hovered close to his face. His eye rolled toward me, not wild, aware. He heard us, felt us. He wanted out. The hose kept moving crudely but steady, water cutting paths under his belly, creating space where death had once pressed tight. Tessa studied every inch of the mud slope like a chessboard. She pointed to the right. "Angle him toward that bank. Gentle pressure. If he goes left, we lose footing." A firefighter swallowed hard. Feels like guiding a boat. No, Luis whispered, voice thick. Feels like guiding a soul. The mesh slid again. This time smoother. Johnny's chest reached a firmer patch. The mud sucked at him one more time as if trying for a final pull. But he lifted his head higher, nostrils flaring, the breath of an animal remembering freedom. Then, another sound. Not mud. Not water. A soft groan from Johnny's hind legs, like bones waking. He tried another push. His muscles trembled, but he did not sink. The panel held. Maya's voice softened. Good. That's good. Not too much. Save it. You'll need strength later. She wiped sweat from her forehead with a muddy sleeve. We're halfway. Hector exhaled shakily. Halfway is more than dead. A thin laugh escaped someone, half relief, half disbelief. There was no smile. Just breath leaving the lungs of people who had dared to hope. Johnny breathed deeply once more, eyes sharper than before. Determination returned like an old friend shaking dust off its coat. The mud had taken 3 days from him. He was taking every second back. One breath, 1 inch, one stubborn heartbeat at a time. But the world does not give victories without asking one more question. How badly do you want to live? The sun leaned lower now, turning the wet clay golden, as if the land itself wanted to witness whatever happened next. Johnny's breath misted in short, uneven clouds. Every exhale carried days of exhaustion. Every inhale carried the tiniest thread of hope. He didn't belong to the mud anymore, but he didn't belong to the earth yet either. He was suspended between two worlds, and any wrong move could send him back down. Steady water, Noah called softly. Not more, not less. His voice had changed, quieter, deeper. The kind of tone men use when they realize they're not fighting against nature, but with it. The hose operators adjusted. Water seeped beneath Johnny's ribs, swirling like a slow river carving its own path. Mud thinned, peeling away from his skin in rippling sheets. The panels underneath flexed, lifting him another inch. The change was tiny but real, like watching something trapped learn how to breathe again. Johnny's nostrils flared. He smelled air, real air, not wet soil. He shifted his hind legs, weak but waking. His hooves searched for ground that wasn't there yet. He grunted, low, rough, almost like a question. Not yet, Maya murmured. When your body remembers, then you stand. She kept her hand near his jaw, not touching but close enough for comfort. It wasn't medical technique, it was faith. Hector stepped forward again, wiping his face with a wrist streaked in dirt. He knelt and whispered, I promised her you'd come home. Don't you make me a liar, Johnny? His voice trembled, not from fear now but from love fighting exhaustion. You hear me? We stay standing in this family. Johnny's ear twitched. That small movement, so simple, hit harder than any roar ever could. Tessa pointed to the edge where the mud met a firmer patch. That's his path. We pivot him there. If he pushes too early, we brace gently, not force. Her words were calm, like she was reading off instructions only she could see. Slowly they angled him. Johnny's chest grazed semi-solid ground. The mud clung desperately to him, then sloughed off in defeat. His front hooves touched earth, real earth. He froze. Even pain paused. Even the cicadas quieted. One firefighter swallowed. He's almost out. No, Noah whispered. He's almost free. Johnny tested his front legs again, barely, shaking like thin wire under wind. His muscles trembled but the panels held steady. His eyes, once dull, now burned with energy that felt ancient and stubborn. For the first time, the wind shifted around him, not like something passing by, but like something bowing. He was ready to fight again. Not for escape. For life. And in that breathless moment, every one of us knew. This wasn't just a bull trying to stand. It was a soul refusing to stay down. The bank was just inches away now, but inches can feel like miles when strength runs thin. Johnny rested his chin on the ground, chest rising and falling in heavy waves. The mud let out one last thick sigh, as if realizing it was losing a battle it thought it had already won. The panels creaked beneath him, tired metal but loyal. They had carried weight far heavier than a body. They carried the will to live. Don't rush him, Maya whispered. If he tries to stand too soon, he'll collapse. She checked his breathing again, gentle fingers brushing air. Her eyes softened. His heart's tired but steady. Noah crouched near the edge, boots braced, face streaked with dirt. We guide, he murmured. Not pull. Not push. We follow him out. It sounded less like a command and more like respect. Luis wiped sweat from his temple with a muddy sleeve. If we had tried ropes first thing, Hector finished quietly, we would have buried him deeper. His voice didn't shake now. It slowed, thick with gratitude and fear mixing like river and rain. Thank you for not giving up on him. Johnny moved again, slow, deliberate. His hind legs trembled beneath the mud, muscles awakening like stubborn roots pushing through hard soil. The water pulsed gently below him, loosening more of the earth's grip. The mesh slid forward. The ground accepted him another inch. Come on, someone whispered, nobody knows who. It didn't matter. Everyone was thinking it. Then a pause. Johnny's eyes drifted closed. For a heartbeat, panic rose like heat from the ground. Had the effort drained him too far? Hector leaned in fast, voice breaking. Johnny, no, look at me, son. Look. His voice cracked open, old years, old memories, old love. Johnny's eyelid fluttered. Slowly his eye opened again. That tiny movement felt like a sunrise. He didn't have strength to lift his head, but he heard him. Maya breathed out in relief. He's conserving energy. He's not quitting. Tessa tapped the edge of a panel. Water off, now. The hoses stopped. Silence sank in heavier than mud ever had. She studied his angle. Let him feel ground. Let his body remember. With no water pushing, Johnny's weight settled, not down but forward. His chest fully touched earth. He dragged his front hooves forward an inch, then again, mud peeling like old skin. It wasn't strength, it was instinct. Hector choked out a quiet sob. There you are. Johnny's hindquarters shifted, too weak to rise, but strong enough to follow gravity toward freedom. He slid just a little, onto firmer dirt. One firefighter caught breath in his throat. He's out of the pit. No cheer. No clapping. Just deep, heavy breaths. The kind humans and Earth take after witnessing something too sacred to celebrate loudly. He wasn't standing yet. He wasn't safe yet. But he was out. We had brought him back from where most things never return. Johnny lay on firmer ground now, half on dirt, half on the last smear of defeated mud. His sides heaved like bellows working overtime. He wasn't trapped anymore, but freedom is not the same as strength. 3 days of struggle, hours of rescue, a heart stretched thin. The body remembers suffering even when the danger passes. Shade, Maya said softly. He's overheating. Rosa, Hector's wife, had arrived quietly with blankets, water jugs, and trembling hands. She and a firefighter lifted a canvas tarp between fence posts to block the sun. Not a perfect canopy, but enough to turn harsh light into mercy. I placed a wet cloth above Johnny's eyes. He blinked slow, accepting it. Maya checked his pulse again. Still strong, she whispered, relief flickering across her face. He made it through the worst. Noah gave a long exhale, shoulders dropping. We need to get a trailer, he said. His legs won't carry him yet. I already called, Rosa replied, voice thick with hope she was afraid to fully feel. On its way. Johnny tried again to rise, a tremor first, then a weak push. His hooves scraped dirt, slipping. His body lifted an inch, then fell. Not collapse, just exhaustion. Maya steadied his neck gently. Don't rush. Your body's been still too long. Let yourself rest. Hector knelt next to his bowl and pressed his forehead to Johnny's temple. Mud smeared across his skin like war paint earned in battle, not decoration. His voice came out as a whisper only a creature who had shared years with him could understand. You came back to me. Johnny's breath hitched, tired but alive. He shifted his head a little, nudging Hector's arm. That small movement felt louder than a roar. When the trailer arrived, everyone moved slow, careful. A makeshift ramp was set. For people guided straps around Johnny, not pulling, supporting. His muscles shook under the strain of remembering how to stand. It wasn't dramatic, no sudden leap to heroic heights. Just a slow tremble, a pause, and then a push. His front legs straightened shakily. His hind legs wobbled. Luis braced near his flank. I steadied a strap. Johnny rose an inch at a time until, finally, his massive frame stood, fragile but upright. The entire world seemed to hold its breath. His head wavered, then lifted. His ears flicked. His breath came deep and sure. He didn't look powerful. He looked tired. But tired and standing is still standing. Rosa covered her mouth. Hector's shoulders shook silently. Maya blinked quickly, pretending dust had found her eyes. Noah whispered, "That's a miracle." Johnny took one slow step. Then another. He walked up the ramp, and the trailer swallowed him gently, like a door closing on a story that chose life instead of loss. He wasn't healed yet, but he was going home. And sometimes going home is all the victory a heart needs. Johnny didn't rush out of the trailer when we reached the veterinary barn. He stood still inside, breathing slow and steady, like he understood this was not the end, just the next part of the fight. The ramp lowered gently and sunlight spilled across his feet. No applause. No cameras. Just quiet air and the soft rustle of hay waiting inside. "Take your time, boy," Hector murmured. He didn't urge, didn't press. He just stood there, hands folded, patience carved into his posture the same way years carve lines into a man's face. Johnny stepped down, one hoof, pause, another hoof, pause. His legs trembled, unsure, but he kept moving. His body was weak, ribs showing, skin marked by mud's memory. But in his eyes lived something fierce, like the earth had tried to take him and failed, and he knew it. Inside the barn, Maya set thick bedding, water, and soft feed. "Small sips only," she warned. "His body needs gentle." No one challenged her. You don't argue with someone who knows how close life came to slipping. Rosa placed a hand on her chest. "I'll bring warm blankets. He likes being tucked in when storms come." Her voice trembled, not from fear now but from gratitude trying to find space inside her. Johnny drank water, slow and steady. Every movement deliberate, every swallow precious. At times he leaned against the stall rail, body learning balance again. Maya checked his muscles, gently massaged the stiff ones, spoke in low tones like comforting a child waking from a nightmare. "You did enough. Now we take care of you." Hector stood outside the stall for a long time, fingertips resting on the wood, like he was touching hope itself. Finally he spoke, voice quiet but steady. "When he was a calf he used to get stuck between fence rails. I'd lift him out and he'd look at me like he saved me. I asked softly, 'And today?' He smiled, small, tired, full. 'Today he reminded me why you never leave someone behind.'" The night settled outside. Cicadas hummed. The smell of hay and warm breath filled the barn. Johnny lay down, slow, gentle, and rested his head. Hector sank onto a stool nearby, refusing to leave. "I didn't either. Sometimes staying is the only heroic thing you need to do. No dramatic music. No flash of triumph. Just a tired bull breathing in and out, alive, and a family sitting in the quiet because victory often whispers instead of shouts." Johnny closed his eyes, not in surrender, but in peace. For the first time in days, he slept. Morning didn't rush in, it crept softly through the barn slats, laying thin stripes of gold across the hay. Johnny lifted his head first, then his ears, then finally pushed himself upright. His legs shook but they held. Hector, who had fallen asleep on the stool, woke to the sound and leaned forward, breath catching like a prayer landing safely. "You're up," he whispered, voice rough. Not surprised. Not shocked. Just grateful, in that quiet way a man speaks when he knows miracle and effort work together. Johnny took one careful step inside the stall. Then another. A slow rhythm like life returning on tiptoe. Maya checked his vitals again, nodding with a tired smile. "He'll build strength back each day. He's past the danger." Outside, word had begun to spread. Neighbors stopping by, not loud, not crowding, just bringing quiet things. Fresh hay, buckets, warm bread for Hector and Rosa, gentle pats on shoulders. No one talked about heroism. They talked about stubbornness, teamwork, and a bull that refused to lie down in his own grave. A reporter tried to visit. Hector stepped out, shook his head kindly and pointed to the barn. "He's not a headline," he said. "He's family." The reporter left without a picture and nobody regretted it. By the end of the week, Johnny walked the pasture again. Slow at first, then steadier. Grass brushed his ankles, wind combed his hide, the world felt wide again. Sometimes he paused near the creek bed looking at the mud quietly, not scared, just remembering. Survivors do not fear scars, they carry them like maps. Kids from the nearby school came once. Johnny let them feed him hay and touch his neck. One little girl whispered, "He's brave." Hector smiled. "Brave isn't loud," he said. "Brave is just refusing to stop breathing." I visited him too. He looked at me with calm eyes, then lowered his head as if in thanks, or maybe as if asking why I ever thought he wouldn't make it. Bulls don't brag. They endure. Standing beside him, I ran a hand along the healed ridge of his neck. "You taught all of us something," I said quietly. "Not just how to save a life, but how a life chooses to be saved." He flicked his tail and kept walking. That was his answer. Life moves forward. Moral lesson. Strength isn't always loud. Survival isn't always about power. Sometimes the bravest thing you can do is keep breathing when the world tries to sink you, and trust that help will come, even if it arrives slowly, 1 inch at a time. Even the deepest mud cannot hold a spirit that refuses to stay down.